Let me show you something I've been sitting with all week. This is a real agent workflow. 47 steps: research, synthesis, client communication, scheduling, contract drafting, code generation, quality review, the full stack of what we imagined autonomous AI would look like 5 years ago. Every step green except one. Step 48, disperse a $220 contractor payment. The agent stalled, not for minutes, for 72 hours, until a human showed up, copied the amount, opened a payment portal the agent couldn't access, and clicked send. A task a 10-year-old could do in 30 seconds. We've spent 7 days pulling on this thread. What we found isn't a niche edge case, it's a structural gap at the center of every serious agent deployment happening right now. And the conversation the industry is having about it, focusing on better models, bigger context windows, smarter reasoning, is pointing in exactly the wrong direction. I'm going to walk you through what we actually learned, specific scenarios, specific failure patterns, specific numbers. And by the end, I want you to see not just the problem, but the shape of the solution. Let's get into it. Let me frame what we actually did this week and why it matters for what you're building. We started with a thesis that most people in the AI builder community know intuitively, but haven't stated cleanly. AI agents have a financial identity problem, not a reasoning problem, not a model problem, a payments infrastructure problem. The thesis: the smartest software ever written can draft a contract, analyze a P&L, optimize a supply chain, and write production-grade code, but it cannot natively hold, send, or receive money. It has no legal standing in the financial system. It cannot authenticate to payment rails. It cannot own a wallet in any meaningful institutional sense. So we went looking for evidence. We talked to builders, we analyzed deployment patterns, we ran our own workflows, and here's what the week actually looked like. Day one, we established the core framing, the gap between agent capability and agent financial autonomy. The specific scenario: an agent managing a $340,000 content production pipeline for 6 months without a single error, until a $29 SaaS subscription lapsed because the agent had no payment method of its own to renew it. The entire pipeline broke for a tool that costs less than lunch. Day two, we went deeper on what financial identity actually means in technical terms. Not just can the agent have a credit card, but legal standing, programmable access control, auditability, multi-currency settlement, the full stack. Day three, we looked at the developer experience. What happens when a builder tries to give their agent payment capability today? The options are hardcode API keys, a security nightmare, give the agent access to a human's financial account, a compliance nightmare, or build a custom proxy layer, months of engineering for something that should be infrastructure. Day four, we examined the compliance and regulatory layer. This is underappreciated. It's not just that the technical rails don't support agents. The KYC and AML frameworks actively assume a human legal entity behind every transaction. Agents don't fit the model. Day five, we looked at what the failure actually costs at scale. 312 invoices processed automatically, $0 collected without human intervention. 94 hours of manual cleanup per billing cycle, per operator. Day six, we asked who's responsible for building this layer: the model companies, the agent framework maintainers, the banks, and we reached an uncomfortable answer. No one is, because it doesn't fit neatly into anyone's roadmap. Today, we're pulling it all together, the full picture of the problem and why the next phase of the agent economy absolutely depends on solving it. Let me take each of these in more depth. To understand why this is a structural problem and not a configuration problem, you need to see where exactly the failure occurs. There are 4 layers in any agent payment attempt, and they fail in order. Layer 1, identity. Every payment rail in the world, and from ACH to SWIFT to card networks to modern fintech APIs, requires an authenticated principal, a person or a legally recognized entity who is accountable for the transaction. The KYC framework requires a human identity or a registered corporate entity with a human beneficial owner. An AI agent is neither. It has no SSN. It has no EIN unless a human registers a company on its behalf, which defeats the purpose of autonomy. It has no credit history, no AML screening record, no compliance profile. When the agent attempts to initiate a payment, the first thing the payment rail asks is, "Who are you?" And the honest answer is something the financial system has no category for. Layer 2, access. Assuming you work around the identity problem, say you proxy the agent through a human's credentials, you immediately hit the access control problem. Payment APIs were designed for human operators with 2FA, biometric verification, or hardware tokens. An agent running in an automated loop cannot complete a TOTP challenge. It cannot respond to a confirm this transaction on your phone prompt. It cannot pass a CAPTCHA that's specifically designed to block non-human actors. The security layer that protects human financial accounts is actively hostile to autonomous agents by design. Layer 3, settlement. Even if you clear identity and access through careful engineering, custom integrations, or favorable API agreements, you hit the settlement timing problem. Traditional financial settlement is asynchronous and slow. ACH takes 1 to 3 business days. International wire transfers can take 3 to 5. An agent running a real-time workflow can't execute logic that depends on a payment that won't clear until Tuesday. The latency mismatch between agent execution speed, milliseconds, and financial settlement speed, days, creates coordination failures that no amount of retry logic can fully solve. Layer 4, liability. Finally, who's responsible when something goes wrong? A charge dispute, a fraud claim, a payment to the wrong destination. The financial and legal system requires a human to be accountable. Builders who try to give agents payment capability today are unknowingly accepting personal liability for every transaction their agent makes, often without realizing it. This is a risk that scales catastrophically as agents become more capable and more autonomous. 4 layers, 4 distinct failure modes. None of them fixed by a better language model, none of them on the roadmap at OpenAI or Anthropic or Google. All of them your problem if you're deploying an autonomous agent workflow today. Let me give you a sense of what this costs. In numbers, you can take to a conversation with your team or your investors. We looked at 5 different operator archetypes and traced the specific cost of the payment gap in each one. Operator 1, the billing automation operator, an agency running client invoicing through an AI agent. The agent generates invoices, sends reminders, tracks open balances, but cannot initiate payment collection or process incoming settlements. Manual follow-up, approximately 94 hours per billing cycle for a 300 client portfolio. At a $75 HR blended labor rate, that's $7,050 per billing cycle in pure friction cost. Annually, $84,600 for a problem that is entirely at the payment layer, not the workflow layer. Operator 2, the global contractor platform, an AI agent that sources, vets, and onboards freelance contractors globally. The agent is fully autonomous through onboarding, but every disbursement requires a human to map the contractor's banking details, select a payment corridor, and initiate the transfer manually. Average delay introduced 31 hours per payment. For a platform running 200 disbursements per month, that's 6,200 hours of delay injected into payment flows, not human labor hours, contractor waiting hours, which translate directly to platform trust and churn. Operator 3, the SaaS subscription manager, an agent managing a software stack for a client, renewals, upgrades, new tool procurement. We've now heard versions of this scenario from at least a dozen operators. The agent identifies a tool to procure, completes the vendor evaluation, generates the purchase justification, and then the workflow stops. A human has to log in, find the invoice, and click pay. For subscriptions under $500, the human labor cost of this approval loop routinely exceeds the cost of the subscription itself. Operators are paying $50 in human time to authorize a $30 tool purchase. Operator 4, the multi-currency settlement operator, an agent handling cross-border supplier payments, a real scenario for anyone running supply chain intelligence or global procurement workflows. Not only does the agent lack payment initiation capability, it also lacks the ability to select optimal settlement corridors, hedge FX exposure, or respond to real-time liquidity conditions. A human treasury function has to shadow every transaction. The agent handles the analysis. A human handles the actual money movement every time. Operator 5, the autonomous revenue agent. Perhaps the starkest scenario. an agent that runs the complete top-of-funnel revenue operation for a B2B SaaS company: prospecting, qualifying, outreach, scheduling, proposal generation. It can get a prospect to the point of a signed contract. It cannot collect the first payment. The agent hands off to a human at the exact moment value is realized. Add these up across the agent economy, and you're looking at a structural drag that compounds every time a new agent deployment goes live. The more capable the agents get, the more expensive this gap becomes, because the gap shows up at higher and higher value transactions. Here's the contrarian argument I want to make clearly, because I don't think the industry has absorbed it yet. The conversation about AI agent limitations is almost entirely focused on model capability, reasoning, context length, multi-step planning, reliability. These are real limitations, and they're being worked on aggressively, but none of them are why agents can't handle money. From GPT-3 to GPT-5, model intelligence improved by an order of magnitude. Payment capability improved by 0, because the capability curve and the payment problem are on different axes. A GPT-5 class model making a payment attempt fails at the same identity layer, the same access control layer, the same settlement timing layer as a GPT-3 model did. The reasoning is better. The wall is unchanged. Every builder who has tried to give their agent payment capability by upgrading the underlying model has had the same experience. The reasoning improves, the payment still fails. This matters because if the industry continues to frame the agent limitation problem primarily as a model problem, the payment infrastructure layer will continue to be underfunded, underbuilt, and underattended. And every new generation of more capable agents will hit the same wall. There's a useful historical analogy here. The internet required a routing and addressing layer before it could support applications. TCP, IP, BGP, DNS, these weren't features of the browser. They were the preconditions for the browser to exist. You couldn't build Netscape until you had packets that could find each other. We built the AI agent browser, the reasoning, the language interface, the application layer, before we built the financial routing layer. The equivalent of building Netscape before TCP IP. The agents are ready. The routing layer is missing. So what does the solution actually look like? Not conceptually, architecturally. What are the actual components that need to exist for an agent to have genuine financial autonomy? First, programmable wallet provisioning. An agent needs to be able to hold funds in a wallet that it controls, not a human's wallet that a human has granted it access to. A wallet with a cryptographic identity tied to the agent's operational parameters, fundable, auditable, programmable. This is the identity layer. Second, a spend policy layer. Autonomy without constraints is a liability. The right architecture allows the operator to define spend rules, per transaction limits, merchant category restrictions, time windows, multi-sig approval thresholds for large transactions that the agent executes within. This is how you give an agent financial autonomy without giving it unlimited financial authority. The agent operates within a programmable envelope. Third, stablecoin native settlement. The reason traditional payment rails fail for agents isn't just identity, it's settlement latency. An agent can't wait 3 days for ACH to clear. Stablecoin settlement is near real time, globally accessible, and doesn't require the agent to have a human identity in the KYC sense. USDC, USDB, and similar instruments provide the settlement speed that agent workflows actually require. Fourth, a native audit trail. Every transaction the agent makes needs to be logged, attributable, and reviewable by the operator, not just for compliance, for operational debugging. When an agent makes a payment decision, you need to be able to trace the reasoning that led to it. The audit trail is how trust is established between operators and their autonomous systems. The BananaCrystal approach threads all 4 of these together through a currency liquidity pool architecture. Fund the agent's wallet with USDC. The pool handles the conversion to local stablecoins, USDB, and from there to any settlement token the counterparty requires. The agent executes. The policy layer enforces constraints. The audit trail captures everything. This isn't a workaround, it's the financial primitive that agent deployments actually need. The difference in workflow behavior is stark. The agent that stalled at step 48 in the scenario I opened with this layer in place, step 48 is green, the workflow continues. The human is notified, but not required. Let me end with a forward look, because everything we've covered this week is context for what comes next. The current moment in agent infrastructure is a specific kind of transition. The reasoning capability is here, the application layer is here. The financial layer is not, but it's being built. And the builders who understand the gap now and begin instrumenting their deployments for it now will have a significant architectural advantage over those who discover it later. Here are the 3 questions every serious agent builder should be asking right now. Question 1, where does my agent hand off to a human because of money? Map every handoff in your current deployments. Every place a human steps in because the agent couldn't complete a financial action. That map is your technical debt list for the next 12 months. Question 2, what's the per transaction cost of that handoff? Don't just count the labor hours. Count the latency introduced. Count the workflow states that get stuck. Count the ops burden of maintaining the human in the loop for every payment. The number will be larger than you expect. Question 3, what would my deployment look like if that handoff didn't exist? This is the design question. If your agent could complete the full workflow, including the financial close, what changes? What becomes possible that isn't possible today? For most operators, the answer is transformative. Next, we're going to shift from problem to solution. We'll be getting into the actual mechanics, how to provision an agent wallet, how to structure spend policies, how to integrate stablecoin rails into an existing agent framework, real code, real examples, real deployments. If you've been following this week and the picture of the problem is clear, next is where we make it actionable. If you found this useful, and I hope you did, there are a few things worth doing before you close this tab. First, subscribe. The next phase of this series goes deep on implementation. Architecture decisions, API walkthroughs, real deployment case studies, that content goes to subscribers first. Second, if you're actively building agent infrastructure and you've hit the payment wall, reach out. We're actively documenting real operator patterns, and if your scenario is instructive, we may feature it, anonymized if you prefer. Third, the full research backing this series is available at agentpayments.substack.com. Every claim we've made this week has sourced reasoning behind it. It's worth reading if you want the full picture. And if you're ready to start building, BananaCrystal.com is where the payment primitive lives. Fund a wallet, run the flow, and see what your agent looks like with financial identity. 7 days of pulling on the same thread. The conclusion is the same every time. The agents are ready. The financial layer is the missing piece. Let's build it.